I'm coming from Turkey. I'm Ferdi Bozkurt. I'm a doctor. I studied in Anadolu University also. I came here today with my student, MA student, master student with Burcu Büyükkal. Yes. Today we will talk about language and rhetoric in Turkish children's book. It's a very important topic, I think. Why? This slide firstly sets up the study's theoretical background. Children's literature is not just a kid's book. It's a complex literary domain that directly shapes young learners' language and thinking. Early reading gives children vocabulary and influences how they construct meaningless sentences and paragraphs. And also, modern linguistics shows us that to fully grasp how children understand text, we must look at how sentences connect logically. It's important detail, logically. RSD tells us that when children comprehend relations like cause and effect or contrast, we can determine if a text suits their developmental level. In Turkey, however, research largely overlooks these structural aspects, focusing instead on content and morals. Our study applies rhetorical structures theory to children's books, addressing this gap by comparing rhetorical patterns across aids. I will talk about two age groups. We will ultimate the goal informing curriculum choices and teaching materials. And there is multi-layered nature of children's literature. I said something, it's not only the kids' book, also it's important. Children's literature serves aesthetic, educational, and cultural functions appropriate to kids' age and perception. These texts support individual development and transmit social values, acting as a bridge between childhood and adulthood. It's a very important bridge, childhood and adulthood. With as a multi-layered text genre shaped by historical and cultural context, influencing how children receive and construct meaning. This is important detail too. We will give them something and they will construct their meaning, their semantic structures, their pragmatic structures. It's important detail. And I want to talk about the text linguistics approach and rhetorical structures. Here we highlight a text linguistic perspective. In this view, a text is not just a sequence of sentences, but an organized whole. There's an important detail here. Cohesion and coherence are essential. We know that Holiday and Hassan, they have got a study about 1976 cohesion in English. It's very, very important document. And then Bergrand and Dresser prepared the second study on text linguistics. They are the milestones of text linguistics books. Also, for children's literature, how sentences relate is critical for meaning. Relations like cause and effect, or example explanation, help kids learn new info and slot into their mental schema. Importantly, choosing a certain rhetorical structure is pedagogical. A simple sequential story versus one with contrast will have different educational impacts. Despite this, most Turkish research on children's book ignores structure focusing only on content. Our approach digs into these often overlooked formal ties to understand their roles in comprehension. And I will talk about what are these ties and styles. I'm sorry. What is rhetorical structure theory? Here, we can identify the function of sentence. Identifies functional sentence relations via core, we call it nucleus, and satellite structures. You can say, what is that? This is the nucleus is the central idea of the sentences, and satellite structure is the giving extra information about the nucleus. It means central idea. It gives details about the central idea. It's important that RST assumes authors structure text achieve specific effects, not just follow grammar rules. Systematic RST analyzes, reveals the text, discursive logic, and pedagogical intent. It's important too. RST is especially useful for evaluating educational materials because this is the keyword. Age appropriateness hangs on the clarity of these rhetorical links. And applicability of RST to children's literature. Children's books reflect age-level cognition. Elementary school texts use simpler sequential cause-effect structures. Middle school texts employ more complex elaborations, explanations, and contrasts. You can see the difference between them. I will talk about later. This shows that rhetorical patterns systematically vary by target age group. They are not same in the different age groups. RST uncovers not only sentence links, but the author's communicative intent and narrative strategies. And we can talk about functional adequacy. RST's tools are critical for evaluating if a children's text is well suited to its audience's developmental level. It was important too. Yeah. I can give some details about our methods that we applied in our study. It was a quality document analysis, and we applied in children's book. As I told, we selected 8 Turkish children's books and chosen from ministry, also the educational ministry. The national education ministry recommends there's 100 fundamental works, and the second one is I Read and Istanbul Reads project. Also, they selected some children's book. Age categories be classified into 2 groups: the elementary groups level and the middle school level. So in Turkey, we are the primary school and the secondary school. We call it elementary. We can call it middle school. And analyze steps, segment each text into meaningful units. I mean, what does it mean with units? The nucleus and the satellites of the sentences, and code sentence connections by RST, and calculate frequency of each relation type. And then we compared patterns between age groups. Limitations, what was that? Also, there was only 8 Turkish children's book. Why? Because this is a presentation, so we will prepare, we will do another things after that. Also, we are studying on an MA thesis, and we will give extra details about it in our master thesis also. And we will apply these RST methods to approximately 50 educational children's books. Yes, you can see on the slide that the 10 most common rhetorical relations all books. You can see that the first one is elaboration. What can we call elaboration? It's a giving sentence and it gives extra details about the nucleus. For example, I can give an example. What can I say? I can say, I love Ankara, the first sentence. Second sentence, Ankara is the capital of Turkey. We can say this is the first sentence, the Ankara is the nucleus, and the second sentence, again, you can see Ankara, and it gives details about the Ankara. This is the elaboration, giving details about the nucleus. And I can say that satellites give information about the first sentence nucleus. And you can see the contrast, you can see sequence, condition, and distribution of RST relations in children's book. The analysis identified that the most frequent rhetorical relations in both primary and middle school text, the most common type is elaboration. Elementary books in 19, also middle is 25%. This suggests that middle school texts contain more explanatory and descriptive structures because elaboration indicates the writer's expands and clarifies the nucleus sentence by adding examples, details, or explanations. On the screen, you can see another example. So I can read it if you want. This is a kind of what we use when posting with social media account. That way, others cannot decipher or write it, and we can send the message quickly. I think the first one was very simple. And other common relations, sequence and contrast. For example, sequence reflects chronological event order, and contrast highlights the opposites or comparisons. I can give example about This family was poor, but they lived happily. This is a contrast example. But the second sentence, he would rise before them, go to the father to gather firewood and return as the sun rose. This is seconds because there is a chronological situation also, giving the first situation and second situation. It's like a history here. And cross-group differences. Here, age group differences align with children's cognitive growth. Younger readers text emphasize conditional and contrasting relations, simple logical operations easily understood through concrete examples. This is another point where older readers' books show more justification and result relation, reflecting a transition toward an abstract reason. This is normal. Why? Because by year the first age, the first group, we don't want abstract thinking because they are so small. But for secondary school, they can start to think abstract things. It's normal. But if we talk about details, is there an adequate situation for it? Not. They can give more details in the first group, but they didn't do it. They did it accidentally. And you can see the percentages and differences of relationship types. I think you can write it. Elaboration is here. We can compare elementary school and middle school, and you can see the difference. Circumstance, solution, motivational cause, purpose, condition. But it's interesting that, for example, in the purpose, elementary school, you can see it's 6, but the middle school, it's 3.79. It's not normal. It's not normal. They did it accidentally. They didn't do it, but professional thinking. It was an important detail. And I can talk about result. In this study, we found that, Turkish children's literature has a distinct linguistic identity. The books follow universal children's narrative forms while also reflecting features unique to Turkish culture and language. Our analysis highlighted elaboration or detailed relations as particularly prominent. This helps children create mental images while reading and experience aesthetic dimension of language. Skills relationships ensure that stories are presented in chronological order. In the first grade, you can understand that, you can see that there are lots of stories for young people, children, I mean. Allowing children to better understand the flow of the events. If you use sequences, children can understand the flow of the events and they can understand cause and effect relationships. This structure is especially strong in fairy tales and memoirs, as usual. And we have got some recommendations for it. Educators should select books according to children's language and level and distribution of rhetorical relations, while authors should maintain a balance between elaboration and sequence and systematically incorporate cultural transmission into their writing. And finally, using RST, we identified 24 rhetorical relation types in children's books. This richness is critical for children's language, cognitive, and cultural development. Our findings provide a scientific foundation for educational policies, writing strategies, and text selection in children's literature. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.